dear children, how are you? Today in the science, after completing lesson number 8, we are going to start a new lesson, that is lesson number 9, soil. Now in this lesson we are going to study in deep about the soil, what is the soil profile, then what all are things from which the soil is made up of. So let's start our work. First of all, you are going to write today's date and classwork. Lesson number 9, soil. Soil is one of the most important natural resources. It provides anchorage to the plants and supplies water and nutrients. It is the home for many organisms. Soil is essential for agriculture. Agriculture provides food, clothing, and shelter for all. Soil is thus an inseparable part of our life. The earthy fragrance of the soil after the first rain is always refreshing. Now, soil, as you know, is one of the most important natural resources that a human being can have, because without soil I think nothing is possible. We get the food, we get the clothing, we get the shelter, everything we get from the soil, because the plants that grow in the soil gives everything a human being need for its survival. So agriculture is not possible without soil. Plants cannot grow without soil, so it is one of the very important natural resources God has provided us. And of course the fragrance, the aroma, the first when the first rainfall falls on the soil, it's totally refreshing. It's just we cannot say that there's something different aroma that matches with that one. So we always remember that first fragrance that comes when the rain falls first time on the earth after a spell of long summer season. In this picture you can see the children playing with the soil. Now 9.1, we'll start with this. Soil teeming with life. One day during the rainy season, Paheli and Bujo observed an earthworm coming out of the soil. Paheli wondered whether there was other organisms also in the soil. Let us find out. Now, as you all know that the soil grows the plants, but not only the plants grow, but there are many microorganisms which also live in the soil. So soil is home to many of the microorganisms also. Now in the soil, the most popular of the insects that we see, or the organism that we see, is the earthworm, because it always lives in the soil and it is also called as the farmer's friend. Now let us see what all other organisms are found in the soil. Now this is activity 9.1, in which you have to collect the samples of the soil, different types of soil, and you have to observe it carefully. You can use a hand lens, examine each sample carefully, and then write what you have observed in this. Now you can see different types of soil. I'll just give you a brief of this table 9.1. You can see here the soil resource, from where you can get the soil. From the garden you can get the soil from the roadside, soil from the area where construction work is going on. So these three different samples you can collect from that different places. The soil that you collect from different places have different things in the soil. All the soil are not similar, because the place where the soil is makes it different. वहाँ उस soil के आसपास में क्या है, वो किस जगह पर है, तो उसका जो है वो जो है असर वो soil पे पड़ता है. So गार्डन सॉइल होता है वो सबसे ज़्यादा फर्टाइल होता है, उसमें ज़्यादातर आपको घास और छोटे छोटे माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स देखने को मिल सकते हैं. इसीलिए सारे सैंपल्स कलेक्ट करें, और उसके बाद जो है आप सॉइल को अच्छे से लेंस में से देखिए. थ्रू द लेंस यू ऑब्जर्व द सॉइल एंड व्हाट यू सी इन दैट सॉइल दैट यू हैव टू राइट इन दिस. मूविंग ऑन टू पेज नंबर 97, दैट वाज योर पेज नंबर 96. I wondered why I found some pieces of plastic, articles, and polythene bags in the soil sample collected from the roadside and the garden. Now, the public garden, if you go to the public garden and the roadside soil, if you collect, then it is the possibility in that you might see some of the plastics, different type of articles, iron pieces are there, then wooden pieces are there, straw is there, and polythene bags also is there, because the people throw all these things on the roadside. And in the public garden also, if you go in to visit a garden, if you eat something, you throw those bags over there only. So these types of things also get mixed in the soil, which reduces the fertility of the soil. Now this is a small box that is very important to understand. Polythene bags and plastic pollute the soil. They also kill the organisms living in the soil. That is why there is a demand to ban the polythene bags and the plastics. Other substances which pollute the soil are a number of waste products, chemicals, and pesticides. Waste products and chemicals should be treated before they are released into the soil. The use of pesticides should be minimized. Now, as I told you that polythene bags and plastics pollute the soil. That means they actually they don't dissolve in the soil. जैसे कि मिट्टी के अंदर घुल नहीं जाते हैं, मिट्टी जैसे मिट्टी की कोई चीज़ होती है, अगर हम तोड़ के मिट्टी में डाल देते हैं तो उसमें वापस मिक्स हो जाएगी, लेकिन पॉलीथीन बैग ऐसा है कि जो मिट्टी में मिक्स नहीं होता है, वो एज इट इज़ रहता है फॉर अ वेरी वेरी लॉन्ग ईयर्स, इट रिमेन्स एज इट इज़ एंड इट रिलीजेस सम ऑफ द डेंजरस gases or the toxic gases are released from the polythene bags when it remains in the soil for a longer period of time, and those toxic gases जो होते हैं वही जो है soil को pollute करते हैं. They also kill those microorganisms which are living in the soil, and that is why it is in the demand that we should not use or there should be a ban on the plastic bags. So dear children, as far as possible, don't avoid using plastic bags. Take a cloth bag from home and buy the things from the market. Don't use plastic bags. तो उनका अगर हम यूज़ कम करेंगे तो उनका डिमांड भी कम होगा और एनवायरनमेंट भी क्लीन रहेगा. Because if soil gets polluted, that pollution goes into our body by the food that we take and the plants that grow in that polluted soil. Now the other substances which makes the soil polluted is the wastes that are released from sometimes from the factories. कोई भी जगह खाली होती है वहाँ पर फैक्ट्री में से केमिकल वेस्ट रिलीज होता है. फिर जो एग्रीकल्चरल प्रोड्यूस हम करते हैं उसमें भी मैनी अ टाइम्स द पेस्टिसाइड्स इज यूज्ड इन लार्ज क्वांटिटीज सो दैट वी गेट अ गुड yield of the crops. So that also pollutes the soil, that those pesticides also pollute the soil because it is an chemical that is used, or it's a medicine that is used to kill the insects that destroy the plants. So that also pollutes the soil. Therefore, before we use dispose of these waste, chemical waste or the waste products and the chemicals, they should be treated before they are disposed of in the soil or they are released in the soil so that the soil does not get polluted. I have seen many toys and pots made with the soil in heart. दैट इज़ योर बाज़ार. बहुत अब तो बहुत सारा ऐसा ट्रेंड है कि मिट्टी की बहुत सारी चीज़ें हम यूज़ करते हैं. इवन द वेसल्स आर मेड, द फूड इज कुक्ड इन दोज अर्दन वेसल्स एंड एक्चुअली इट इज़ वेरी गुड फॉर हेल्थ ऑल्सो. नाउ नेक्स्ट इज योर 9.2 which is your second topic in this lesson, is the soil profile. Soil is composed of distinct layers. Perform the following activity to find how these layers are arranged. Now, soil profile का मतलब क्या है कि how the soil is made, how many layers of soil is there, and which layer comes in which place, that is to be understood. Take a little soil. अब इसके लिए एक छोटा सा एक्सपेरिमेंट है जो हमको करना है. इसमें आई जस्ट एक्सप्लेन इट. टेक अ लिटिल सॉइल, ब्रेक द लम्प्स विथ योर हैंड टू पाउडर इट. नाउ टेक अ ग्लास टम्बलर 3/4 filled with water. Now you have to take a lump of soil and then you have to break it into totally powder form, and you have to take a glass vessel so that you can see from outside how many layers, different layers are formed in the soil. And in that glass tumbler you have to fill 3/4 it, you have to fill it with water, and then add a handful of soil in it. Stir it well with a stick to dissolve the soil. Now let it stand undisturbed for some time. Afterwards, observe it with and answer the following questions. Now you have to properly mix that handful of soil in the water well and stir it with a stick so that the soil gets dissolved properly, and then you have to leave that soil undisturbed. That means now you don't have to do anything with that soil. Once it gets dissolved in the water, mixes with the water, and you have to leave it for some time as it is, and then you have to observe what happens in that glass jar. Now you can see this is the picture given here of the glass jar in which you can see different layers of the soil. This is your gravel, sand, clay, water and humus. On the top layer is the humus, then comes the water, clay, and this is sand and gravel. जो बड़े बड़े पत्थर होते हैं ग्रेवल वो होते हैं, फिर रेत होती है, फिर मिट्टी होती है, फिर उसके ऊपर पानी है, और फिर सबसे ऊपर जो है humus, which is the very fertile soil on the top layer of the soil. humus जो होता है वो उसका soil का जो होता है top layer होता है. Do you know do you see the layers of particles of different particles of different size in the glass jar? Now you can see, do you see that the different particles and different layers? Now draw a diagram showing these layers. Are these some dead rotting leaves or animal remains floating on water? The rotting dead matter in the soil is called as the humus. Now, when you will leave the glass jar undisturbed for some time after mixing the soil in the water, you can see the different layers are formed. Now, what you observe is that there are some different size of particles are present in the soil. Then you can see that there are certain dried leaves are there, or some animal remains are also there, which floats on the top of the water. So that is rotting dead matter is called as the humus, which makes the soil fertile. Mostly it is a dry leaves are normally present that makes the humus, but sometimes the animal remains are also there. जो small small insects and होते हैं, या animals जो उसके अंदर small micro organisms, या फिर जो छोटे छोटे insects जो उसके अंदर रहते हैं, वो उसी में जो होते हैं, they die in that and they remains in that soil only. Now you probably know that the soil is layered, formed by the breaking down of rocks by the action of wind, water, and climate. This process is called as the weathering. Now, how is the soil formed? First, we have to know the process that how the soil is formed. For years together, there are big rocks are there. Then that rocks actually by the action of wind, water, and the climate, जो बारिश होती है, धूप पड़ती है या हवा चलती है, उसका असर बहुत सालों तक किसी रॉक्स पे होता है, और धीरे धीरे वो रॉक्स जो होते हैं दे स्टार्ट ब्रेकिंग, एंड दिस प्रोसेस इज कॉल्ड एज वेदरिंग. एंड आफ्टर मेनी मेनी ईयर्स द रॉक्स ब्रेक इनटू स्मॉल स्मॉल पार्टिकल्स. बड़े पत्थर में से छोटे पत्थर बनते हैं, उसमें से और छोटे होते हैं, और इस तरीके से छोटे छोटे आफ्टर ईयर्स टुगेदर दे बिकम द सॉइल. नाउ दिस प्रोसेस इज कॉल्ड एज वेदरिंग. वेदरिंग का मतलब क्या है कि द एक्शन ऑफ वेदर ऑन दैट रॉक, wind, water, and climate. This nature The nature of any soil depends upon the rocks from which it has been formed and the type of vegetation that grows on it. Now, what is the nature of soil? How will you know that what type of soil it is? So it depends upon the rocks from which it is made. किस तरीके के पत्थर से जो वो मिट्टी बनी है उसके ऊपर उसकी जो है नेचर डिपेंड करती है, और किस टाइप का वेजिटेशन दैट ग्रोज ऑन इट, मतलब किस टाइप के पेड़ पौधे उसके ऊपर उगते हैं. क्योंकि नॉर्मली अपने आप ही नेचुरली भी बहुत सारी खाली जगह होती है, वहाँ पर कुछ ना कुछ तो उगता ही है, तो उससे पता लगता है कि किस टाइप का वेजिटेशन वहाँ पर ग्रो करेगा. अ वर्टिकल सेक्शन थ्रू डिफरेंट लेयर्स ऑफ सॉइल इज कॉल्ड एज द सॉइल प्रोफाइल. ईच लेयर डिफर्स इन द फील एंड टेक्सचर. जो वर्टिकल सेक्शन पूरे सॉइल का होता है, उस दैट वर्टिकल सेक्शन इज कॉल्ड एज द सॉइल प्रोफाइल, in which you can see the different layers of soil, and all these different layers of soil are different in texture. When you touch that layers, each layer you will feel that the texture is totally different from one another. Here you can see this is the picture of the soil profile. This is the first layer, this is the second layer, फिर third और fourth, ऐसे ये जो different layers हैं, this is the picture of the soil profile. Now moving on to page number 98. Color, different in textures, colors, then depth and the chemical composition. These layers are referred to as the horizons. Now each layer that is there, it, as I told you, it is different in the texture because all the different materials are there in the different layers. So their texture is different, their color is different, their depth of each layer is also different, and the chemical composition from which things the layer has been made, it also is different. So these layers are called as the horizons of the soil. We usually see the top surface of the soil, not the layers below it. If we look at the sides of the recently dug ditch, we can see the inner layers of the soil too. Such views enables us to observe the soil profile at that place. Soil profile can also be seen while digging a well or laying the foundation of a building. It can also be seen at the sides of a road or on a hill or at a steep river bank. Now, usually we see the top layer of the soil. We don't see the different bottom layers of the soil. हमेशा हम जो है टॉप लेयर ऑफ द सॉइल को ही देखते हैं, इसलिए उसके नीचे के लेयर्स कैसे होते हैं उसका हमको ज़्यादा पता नहीं होता है. बट दैट लेयर्स कैन बी सीन व्हेन वी डिग अ डिच, मतलब कोई छोटा सा गड्ढा कर रहे हैं तो हमको उसमें से दिख सकता है. इफ़ वी आर डिगिंग अ वेल देन वी कैन सी. अगर कोई नया बिल्डिंग का कंस्ट्रक्शन हो रहा है तो भी हम जो बड़े उसमें जो नीचे बेस बनाते हैं तो वी डिग अ लॉट ऑफ soil deep down the earth. So at such places we can see the soil profile. The uppermost horizon is generally dark in color as it is rich in humus and minerals. Now the top layer of the soil that we see normally, that humus, we always see that it is dark in color because it contains a lot of humus and the minerals also. There are many minerals are also present in the soil also. The humus makes the soil fertile and provides न्यूट्रिएंट्स टू द ग्रोइंग प्लांट्स. जो ह्यूमस होता है वो जो है सॉइल को फर्टाइल बनाता है और जो प्लांट्स जो उसके अंदर उगते हैं दैट इट प्रोवाइड्स न्यूट्रिएंट्स टू दोज प्लांट्स ऑल्सो. द लेयर इज जनरली सॉफ्ट पोरस एंड कैन रिटेन मोर वाटर. इट इज कॉल्ड एज द टॉप सॉइल और द ए होराइजन. नाउ it is very porous. That means the water can go into it easily, and it can retain the water also for a longer period of time, and that is why it is on the top, so it is called as a topsoil or the A horizon. Here in this picture you can see the horizon A, horizon B. This is the top is your A horizon, then this is your B, C and D horizon is there, which is the bedrock. This is the last one. But इसमें हम देखें तो layers, पहले ये नीचे की ये layer आएगी, फिर sand की आएगी, फिर water की आएगी और फिर the top layer आएगा, जैसा हमको इस class के अंदर हमने देखा था. In this class we have seen. So A, B, C and D, then is your bedrock. नीचे सबसे क्या होगा, पत्थर ही सबसे ज़्यादा होंगे.